Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is your host Ben on the Lover of Tech channel. Now I've been using the iPhone 8 Plus for a while now, so I think I'm ready to give you my final review on it. So without further ado, this is my review on the iPhone 8 Plus from Apple. Roll the intro. So I'm going to break this review into different segments. I've already done a hands-on video of the iPhone 8 Plus, which I'm going to link in the cards above and also in the description below. So if you haven't watched it, give it a check out for sure. But I'm going to break it into the design, the display, the software and the performance, which is going to go into one, the camera and the overall battery life, and also just give you a final conclusion of what this phone has actually meant to me using it as an iPhone 6s Plus user, as my previous iOS device for mobile. How does this phone really stack up? So let's get straight to it. So firstly, design. There's two ways you can look at the design, and I'm going to talk about the first way. The first way I saw the design when I was using the iPhone 8 Plus was definitely the fact that it's a tried and true tested design that we've seen from the 6 and the 6 Plus. It's easily recognizable as an iPhone. It's definitely not trying to be any other product apart from an iPhone. So when you do see it, you recognize that it is an Apple product. It's the same design that we've seen from before. It's tried and tested. It has been refined. With the glass back now, it's not just for aesthetic reasons, it is functional. Apple finally adapted wireless charging. This is the reason why they've used glass at the back. I have to thank Apple for not using a proprietary technology when it came to wireless charging. They've actually used the Qi wireless charging standard, which is actually good. It just means that if there's any Qi wireless chargers that are out there that you wanted to use already from whatever manufacturer, definitely you can use it with the iPhone 8 Plus, which is great. Better late than never, but they have arrived to the party with wireless charging. It isn't fast wireless charging, so take it for what it is. It's one of those things where it's there as a first generation product. Apple have got some accessories in-house that they wanted to bring out next year, which is their AirPower charging mat. But yeah, the glass is functional. It does give a much more heft to it. It is a little bit heavier, but in terms of dimensions and complete design, this is pretty much the same thing that you're going to be seeing from what was there before, which in most cases is good. You've got the familiarities of having the home button there as well, so the design is not bad. The second part of looking at the design is definitely at the fact that it being called an iPhone 8, the mentality when you're coming to see this phone is definitely based on the fact that you're expecting a slight design change. You're expecting something different that will make it stand out from the previous generation, because the whole number name that they've given it this time around, but it just hasn't really been the case. Most people, when they see this, actually struggle to realize that this is the new iPhone 8 Plus compared to what was previous, which was the iPhone 7 Plus, and even some cases against the iPhone 6s Plus, which was my previous iOS mobile device, which is such a missed opportunity because Apple could have done a lot more when it came to actually slimming the bezels, giving it a slightly bigger display. And I know a lot of people are going to be thinking, you know what, this is something of more of a incremental change, but really it should have been called the iPhone 7s Plus, because this is an S model effectively when you look at the design on that particular perspective, and it's a missed opportunity. And it almost makes the design definitely boring for an 8 model phone. So those are the two sides. What side did I really fall on when it came to the design? Unfortunately, being a 6s Plus user, I kind of felt more on the side where this felt more to me like an iPhone 7s Plus design change. Now next is the display. The display to me, as a staple of a phone, is probably one of the most important things to have. Probably to me more important than the camera. I think it's the display, how the phone in a form factor feels in your hand, then the camera performance, as well as everything else that comes with it as extras that make the intangible experience of using this phone really different. Now to me personally, the Retina HD display, 1920 by 1080 full high definition IPS LCD display technology, Apple to me for their particular panels have kind of pretty much perfected IPS panels. What Apple have done is introduce True Tone display from what they had in the iPad Pro 9.7 as well as the 10.5 from this year, which is really good. It kind of mimics what a paper white back would do to the surrounding lighting that you have, so that you get the correct white balancing and look of the display to the color temperature that's around you. Now that sounds awesome and everything, but for me, the display was something where I was expecting a lot more from, and it's a missed opportunity again. And for Apple really perfecting what their IPS LCD displays can do, they could have done better. And this is the reason why I'm saying they could have done better. Look at the improvement that they did with the iPad Pro 9.7 to the 10.5. from being able to slim the bezels, give a nicer and a slightly bigger display within the same form factor as the previous tablet, up the resolution, use an IPS LCD panel, and then add that killer feature of 120Hz ProMotion display. That's what should have been on here. For really it to be called an iPhone 8 improvement or an 8 Plus improvement from the previous generation, we should have got a ProMotion display, and I think that was just a big missed opportunity. And I said it in one of my lot of news segments that definitely the reason why I think they did that was to protect the OLED panel investment that they had in the upcoming iPhone 10, which to me just kind of like shortchanges what we expected from this phone. But apart from that, the display is a really good display. I definitely wish it was quite high definition, and I definitely wish it was, you know, more ProMotion, less than OLED. But the display is good, it does the job. True Tone is a nice touch. Next is the performance and the hardware and the software. Now I'm going to get into the internal hardware, and I'm going to call it indefinitely say the benchmarks don't lie. The new A11 Bionic chip with 3GB of RAM and the necessary storage that's on there. Apple using their own non-volatile memory express NVMe storage on there really makes it load big files really quick, like games and massive file installs, and it's absolutely phenomenal. A11 Bionic chip when it comes to AR integration, and also the benchmarks from Geekbench and all the external benchmarks do not lie. It's been proven that Apple, when it comes to their system on a chip, is the fastest in the market. That's not something that is unexpected from Apple. It just seems like their in-house designers, when it comes to their chip makers, are really ahead of the game when it comes to really building powerful system on the chips, which is absolutely phenomenal, and it's something that's expected from Apple. But the Achilles heel, and which is such a strange thing to happen, has been my experience with iOS 11. Now, I'm not gonna say iOS 11 is slow. To say iOS is slow, it's almost impossible to say that. Like, that thing and that operating system has been known for speed and fluidity and consistency just because it's so lightweight and consistent across the board. But so many people have said it, iOS 11 has been terribly buggy. Like, one of the main bugs I faced using it was just the inconsistency with 3D Touch. And you're gonna see some B-roll where I was actually using it in the day, and using 3D Touch, it was just stuck. My keyboard came up, I couldn't really use it. And it's kind of been the telltale stories. There'll be times where I open it up and the frames drop, the frame rate really drops, and you can notice it really lagging. And it's so unlike Apple to release an iOS update to one of their latest phones to see a performance difference of that big and the software really pushing it down. And I mean, I trust Apple, you know, this is the consistency of having a software control to really update and really fix these problems. But my experience with iOS 11 hasn't been slow. I'm not saying it's slow. All I'm saying is it's just not been as blistering fast as I expected it based on the internal specifications of the A11 chip. But, you know, it's one of those things that Apple needs to fix. They just need to fix, and I hope they do fix it. But within the month that I've used it, even after all the relevant updates that have come, it's just not been as consistent as I would have liked it to be. But iOS still has all its benefits. iOS 11 with the new control center, the notification systems, and obviously the integration with iCloud with all the other Apple devices, such as your MacBook and your iPad, your AirPods, and your new Series 3 Apple Watch, is still awesome. I just don't think iOS 11 is taking advantage of the internal hardware, and optimization is needed. Now, onto the camera, and I eagerly anticipated this beast of a dual camera system on this iPhone 8 Plus. When it comes to the video shooting modes, there is no phone in the market that has the power internally with the A11 chip, the new image signal processing, with the new 12 megapixel dual cameras, which are still very similar to last year, but there's tweaks and calibrations that they've done to it. The new video shooting modes in terms of frame rate are absolutely awesome. 4K 60 frames a second, 1080p 240 frames a second when it comes to slow motion, and even cinematic 24 frames a second at 4K as well. It's, you know, it's killer. No phone is doing this. But as you can see from some of the sample shots that you're gonna see right now, the camera's awesome, sharp images. The one thing I did have a problem with when it came to using the camera for the front and the rear is that the iPhone has a tendency to overexpose the image around. But one thing it does do well is give you a sharp and crisp image. The second tele lens is useful, especially when you want to zoom in to see certain stuff. But unfortunately, not having optical image stabilization, you can see how shaky the image can become when it comes to photos, and especially especially videos, no matter what the shooting mode that you're in. But the portrait lighting mode really is nice, especially the natural lighting. I think Apple have really perfected the background depth of field and bokeh that you can get in terms of effects. It really looks natural. You can't adjust it after the fact or before, but you can preview it. And the new stage lighting modes as well. I have to give a disclaimer, I think most of us already know that it is in beta, so it can be a hit and miss, but sometimes when it does work, it works really well. And what's really good about it is once you do take the portrait mode, you can change it after the fact to be able to select different modes when it comes to the portrait mode, which is really good, and it gives some form of control. I think Apple over time will improve it, but right now it is a hit and miss unless you're using a natural mode. But yeah, take a look at some of the sample pictures and the videos right now. I'm gonna close it off with the battery life. The battery life on this is really good. Actually really good. The highlight of this is the internal optimization with the A11 chip on the new 10nm process with the standby time with iOS 11. I think that is one thing that they ace really well. For me personally, when it comes to using any phone, no matter where it is, when I give it a really good power usage throughout the day, it won't last me to the end of the day. I have to power pack it. And you know, it's one of those things. But there has been days where my day starts around 8 AM in the morning. I take it 100%. If it's not my main phone that I'm using in that day to really push it, you can see that at the end of the day, I'll probably come home at 6 PM with about 50% battery or even 60 to 70%. So the standby time is absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, it's been great. The battery life is actually one of the biggest highlights of using an iPhone 8 Plus. So I'm going to conclude this with all the tidbits and the things that I also still liked that I want to give honorable mentions for. The stereo speakers are flipping loud. Man, I really like the loudness of the speakers. They're full, there's more clarity, there's more volume, and I really wish more companies will actually take this form factor. If you're not going to be able to do dual front, this is really the way to go, and I really like how they've done it. But one of my biggest struggles was definitely not having a headphone jack, and the removal of the headphone jack, I have to unfortunately say, is something that we have to come to acceptance with. It seems like that is the trend that is going forward. It's a shame. I'm not really for it, but I have to kind of commend Apple for making it a little bit easier, not just the adapter, but giving you in-house, in-box lightning earpods that go straight in there as well. Makes it a little bit easier to make that transition. But personally, if they're saying that the headphone jack is old technology, I would have preferred them to replace it with a second lightning port so you can charge and listen to music at the same time. That was the biggest struggle, and I faced too much of that issue when it came to actually being able to power charge while still having a headphone jack in at the same time, which is something that I just couldn't get over. So I highly recommend any power users to go wireless. Wireless is an unfortunate, or depending on who you are, a fortunate necessity to be able to use this phone to its full capacity and convenience. Now, would I recommend the iPhone 8 Plus? It really depends on who you are, and I think the iPhone 8 Plus falls into this camp. If you have anything less than an iPhone 6 or below, upgrading to an iPhone 8 or specifically the 8 Plus is more worth it. You will notice an upgrade, you have more hardware features, you have more things to really benefit, but the core of what it is about iOS is still there. But honestly, as an iPhone 6s Plus user that I've been using my iPhone 6s Plus, I just didn't notice that much of a difference. I respect the things that are in there. Honestly, I really do. You know, as the nerd in me really appreciates the amazing videography that it has, the amazing camera, all the finite things that they've been able to add to really improve it. I just didn't feel it was enough of an upgrade to get excited for Apple's lineup this year, especially calling it an iPhone 8. And for sure, if you're an iPhone 7 Plus or 7 user, skip it. You shouldn't even be upgrading this year, to be honest. You should be upgrading next year, because anyone that had an iPhone 7 Plus or 7 should be on a 2-year plan and waiting to get a new phone next year. But if you're on an annual upgrade plan with your carrier or with Apple directly and you want to upgrade, honestly, with the iPhone 10 just coming around, I would be lying if I said get this and you'll notice a difference. I think wait, see what the iPhone 10 has to offer, and probably make that decision and get the iPhone 10. That's it for me. Hope you enjoyed my review of the iPhone 8 Plus. If there's any particular thing that I missed, let's have a discussion in the comment section below. Make sure to follow my social media presence on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat to see all the behind the scenes things that is happening on the Lover of Tech channel. And also, when you do hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification bell so you're part of the notification squad so you can see all the latest stuff that is posted on the Lover of Tech channel. Again, I'm your host Ben on the Lover of Tech channel, signing out, and I will see you next time.